always it's always funny, isn't it? Ah, there we are. This worked very, very quickly. Hello.
Yes.
How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, okay, we are live.
Yes.
So I've just introduced episode 4 of Homeopathic Voices, and I am very happy to introduce Melanie Dupres, who likes to be called Mel, and she is a homeopath from Bermuda. And because the podcasts that I do are so sort of full up for the next several months, I really wanted to get Mel on and just so we can have a conversation really and introduce her to everybody else virtually. And
Yeah.
hey, here we are.
Thank you. I'm wondering, should I turn this light off, this overhead light?
Yeah, that's a really big halo.
Yeah. My halo's not that big. Oh, give me 1 second.
Okay. Now, believe it or not, Mel is the only homeopath in Bermuda. So I am going to be asking her a lot about that as well. So, hey, thank you so very much for accepting my invite. It's great to connect, isn't it?
Yes, thank you for the invitation.
Oh, no, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. We've had some good feedback with the promotion reels on my Instagram as well for this live. And I think the video you sent yesterday was just brilliant. It was so top notch, you know. It was such a happy video. I've actually listened back to that several times because it just made me so happy.
That's so cool. I love it.
Yeah. How have you been?
I've been okay. This time of the year gets really hectic, and I'm sure everybody experiences. So I'm feeling a little overwhelmed and just trying to, take my time with everything and just be mindful of where I put myself and my energy.
Good. And now I know that you actually, let's start at the beginning because I think that's really, really important. Now, many will not know or may not be aware, and I have to actually give a big shout out because the messages come from Dr. Sharon Ellie, a good friend of mine who's been on the podcast, and she's just sent a message saying, hello, Mel and Atik.
Oh,
so Dr. Sharon, always a pleasure. I was actually a guest on her Insta Live earlier this year. And hey, how things pan out so nicely, don't they? And now it's, progressing. And I think she's going to be back actually in a couple of months' time because Sharon's done some amazing work in India. She's from Pune in India.
Oh, wonderful.
So yes,
it's amazing how we can connect all around the world. It's so beautiful. I love it.
I absolutely love it. And although technology lets us down sometimes, it does. But when it works, my God, it works so well, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So now you have a very interesting story, which is very much the fact that you are from the UK. Oh, sorry, you were from Bermuda. War meaning the journey led you to the UK. And then from the UK back to Bermuda. So do share for those who aren't aware of your sort of backstory, as they say. And hey, everyone loves stories, especially when they're real. Especially when they're real.
And everyone has a story, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We just have to listen.
That's it. So I'll go back to the very beginning, if you don't mind. So I was adopted in Bermuda to very loving parents who were actually from Trinidad, but they were living here. They tried to have children and couldn't, so they adopted me. And very early on, I sort of wanted to spread my wings and go to the UK because I thought that would be the best place for me in terms of education. And they wanted me to study medicine. And I always had an interest in healthcare and I guess taking care of people somehow. So I went off to the UK with this sort of idea of maybe studying medicine. But when I got there, I realized that there were so many other things around health that I didn't know. I had no idea about vegetarianism and about acupuncture and about any alternative modalities because I was brought up very sort of straight-laced and conventional. so I was like, wow, this is amazing. And very early on at 16, I sort of, my mind got opened up to these possibilities. So off the track, not into medicine, although I did my A levels in science. I offered a compromise, and I went to university and I studied human science, which was absolutely a wonderful degree, you know, just understanding humans, which was a great foundation for my homeopathy studies. So I then went on to study homeopathy, and I just fell in love. And I struggled a bit as a student. I think I was struggling emotionally, and nobody really talked about that. We didn't really address it. I maybe didn't understand in my youth. But when I got to LCCH, which was the classical college,
Yeah.
I absolutely thrived. I was top of the class. I studied all the time. I was, you know, just totally involved in studying and learning about homeopathy. And it's like that. It's a subject like that, right? Once you sort of open the book, you're like, have to get to the end.
I absolutely love it. As you know, I live and breathe and sleep homeopathy, you know. Even my dreams are homeopathic.
Fantastic.
Honestly, I just can't get enough of it. And it's 24 hours, literally, if I'm dreaming homeopathy.
Yeah.
And I wake up with such a buzz because the possibilities are endless. If only more people knew, hey? But hopefully that's changing, and things like this and some of the great work that each and every homeopathy is doing around the world, you know, to bring this system to people's attention that, hey, look, there's something here that you should spend time on and to think, you know, it can really be life-changing.
Yeah.
But sorry, do carry on.
Well, that was so those were my early years. And then I was still curious about other modalities, and I worked at Neal's Yard Remedies. It's quite different to what it was back then, but I worked there, and so I learned about herbs and essential oils and making natural cosmetics, and I was just indulging in all of natural medicine, and it was just fantastic. I loved it. And then what happened? I worked at Ainsworth's while I was studying homeopathy, and that was great. I got to know Tony Pincus, and in fact, I spoke with him a couple of years ago, and we had this great conversation, and he remembered me, and I was like, wow, that was like 100 years ago.
Oh, that's nice though, isn't it? Tony's a legend.
Oh, he
Absolute
is, and so
legend.
knowledgeable, so knowledgeable. And the work he does with the farm animals and farmers, you know, keeping their herds healthy and things. Wow, it's
Amazing,
it's just so amazing. And then I did a stint at Helios as well, so I know the crew there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Another legend, John Morgan.
absolutely.
Absolute legend.
Yeah, yes. And the whole team, really, it's just like, wow.
Hey, you can't give
They do
too much
so
away
much.
because there'll be nothing left to talk in the podcast.
Oh, okay. Well, they do so much for homeopathy, right? And they're so busy, and people just come through and learn so much about homeopathy through the pharmacy. So, and the world over, you know, Helios supplies the world with homeopathic remedies. Yeah.
Absolutely. How amazing, hey?
Yeah.
So what
Yeah,
happened
I'm so grateful for my journey in this.
So from there, you ended up back in Bermuda, right?
I did in 2003. I came home for the summer, and then for some reason, I felt like I wanted to be with my family. I had been away for 14 years, and I wanted to be with them. And I'm glad I did. Something called me to come back. And so I came back in 2003, and my father passed away in 2005, suddenly from a heart attack. And so I was so grateful that I did come back for that year and a bit. But then it was that sort of opened things up for me. I opened them up, but I got lost as well. I had never had that level of bereavement. You know, as an adopted person, I feel like I carried loss and grief for all my life, but of a really unknown, you know, and a wondering of what was that about? Who were my parents? What would my life have been like had I not been adopted? But to have this father who actually just was no longer there, having known him, yeah, it was quite life-changing. So then I went traveling.
It
to try and find
is, you
myself.
know, going through, and we all go through it, okay? There's no You know, there's nothing hidden here. There's no one who is not experienced with it, you know, or will experience it certainly at some point. And it can be it's very challenging, isn't it? And also very confusing at that time. And it also shows you the fragility of life itself. And then there's also gratitude that, you know, we're here, we can do so much, isn't it? It's a very complex situation when somebody passes away very close to you, within the family or loved ones generally. So many thoughts and emotions, you know, can be overpowering too, huh?
Indeed. Yeah, no, for sure. And you know what, one thing that I was very pleased about and grateful for was that my dad and I were very close, and we shared a lot, you know, in the years that leading up to that. So I felt like we were connected. So with his passing, I almost felt like it was okay. Yes, it was life changing and earth shattering, but it was okay. I had made peace with him of any outstanding debts. You know what I mean? So, but it allowed me to actually go to India, because I had wanted to go to India for so long, knowing through my journey of homeopathy, knowing how prevalent it is there and how it's so accepted and well understood, you know, because at that time in the UK, it was still on kind of thin ice. It didn't really have the hold that it has now, but I knew that, or I had heard that in India it did. So I really wanted to go to India for like 10 years. I wanted to go, and I took that opportunity to go, and I was so glad I did. Wow. I went.
It's life-changing, isn't it?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I started off in Gondia, and there was a homeopathic group that used to go, I think annually or however often they used to go, to this hospital and clinic, and hospital and clinic, yes, teaching clinic. And so I went off and did this sort of training there, and it was amazing. We went into like clinics, operating rooms, we saw so many different cases. It was just such a different approach to what we had learned in the UK.
It's extremely immersive, isn't it? That experience. It's real. Honestly speaking, it's real homeopathy in the sense that you've got patients, and you haven't just got one at a certain time, multiple patients. The fact that you're in a hospital environment, or certainly a medical establishment, whatever that may be, it could be a clinic as well, you know, but the fact you've got several homeopaths at any one time, and you know, that's real. I always say to people, because I always get asked, Mel, this question: where's the best place to go? I just want to really get my hands. I just really want that experience of homeopathy, you know, in at the deep end. I say, go to India, because that's the best experience you're ever going to get, and it's going to leave a lasting impression, because you're going to learn so much, because it's on the case, literally, no pun intended, as far as homeopathic cases, but you're on the case all the time.
Yeah, and it's a different style, you know. So it is that rapid turnover, and there, you know, there's not this whole analyzing of the whole life history and all of that. I remember one thing that stood out in particular was they used X-ray, the remedy X-ray, a lot. And I remember they were saying that it was to clear things. And I thought, wow, that's unusual, you know, but it worked. It worked for them, and that was their style. And then what was interesting was that I traveled a little bit, and then I eventually ended up down in Goa. And Sankaran was having one of his sensation method courses. I don't know if he still does them, but that was like 2007, I guess, 6 or 7. And how different. It was in the Marriott Hotel, which I stayed in, and it was like this luxurious experience, not, you know, dinky bed kind of thing. You know? It's just such a different experience, but powerful learning, you know, just Absolutely. Again, just engrossed in homeopathy and the wonders and magic of it. So
it's amazing, isn't it? And these are the experiences, you know, that make such a big difference as well, because like you said, you know, you've got Dr. Rajan Sankaran, and then you've got Dr. Jan Scholten, and then you've got Ton Jensen, and then you've got Jeremy Sher, and so many. I'm sorry if I've missed any, but by learning with them or learning from them, certainly, it really gives you a grasp of true homeopathy and the different ways that you can actually utilize this art to help people. And you should never, I always also say to students, I say never ignore anything from as far as homeopathy is concerned. Yes, you may not use it, but you never know when you may have to, because the ultimate goal is heal the patient, right? So, and we all have toolboxes, and you never know which patient may need a certain way of prescribing.
Exactly.
It depends. It really does. And it's nice to be open, right? Anyway, it's nice to be open,
Yeah, particularly having trained in the classical method. It was that give one remedy and wait. And now, all these 20 plus years later, I'm like, well, that can work not very often.
I'm not going to say anything to that.
In my experience, it doesn't work very often. So now I employ all these different techniques, and I am open with it, and just, it's wonderful.
Actually, having said that, it's very interesting what you said there, because I find with as far as remedies are concerned, and if you do it long enough, like you and like so many other homeopaths, sometimes the system or the way that or the approach of prescribing just comes to you as the patient is talking. It's quite important because sometimes I'll give you an example. Okay, I had a patient just very recently, and the way that they wore, the way they conducted themselves, irrespective of what they were saying in the case, was so in line, almost 99.9%, to what Jan Scholten has written about the mineral kingdom and the type of personalities. I was shocked, and I had to actually go back to the book and just check that had I actually read that correct anyway in the first instance, and my understanding of it. And lo and behold, it was, it helped me to focus only on the mineral remedies according to that approach in this instance. But then sometimes, as you very well know, sometimes someone walks in and they're an Nux vomica, or they're a calc carb, because it's so obvious, right?
Yeah.
But nowadays, patients are also very complex because of the environment we live in, the society, the fast-paced world. You mentioned X-ray, radiation, and then you've got chemicals, and then you've got pesticides, and then you've got toxins, the pollutants, a myriad of different strains of viruses and bacteria, and it is becoming more and more challenging, should I say, to be able to get a patient to a level where, or should I say, to get them to the cure. It's challenging. It doesn't mean the challenge, it's a challenge we all overcome, all homeopaths do. But it's a bit more challenging than it has been perhaps 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
That's what I
say,
mean.
Yeah. There are definitely more variables to consider, and not to mention the thoughts that are going on for the patient. That they perhaps can't even really come to terms with, and then don't express necessarily. Not in the first meeting anyway. Some people do, but most people don't. They keep that to themselves. And also, I believe that the way that we are taught to approach healthcare, it's very much focus on the physical, focus on the external, focus on those things, and not really understand or settle with what's going on inside. And if you can't settle there and understand it, how can you express it?
Absolutely. And the other thing, Mel, is, and I'm sure you find this as well in Bermuda, that and this is everywhere, it's not specific to any country anyway, it's just people and society now. Everybody seems to have, there's a great emotional strain on us all, myself included, yourself, we're being pulled in different directions at any one time. There's pressure itself to get stability in life generally, because of, not for anyone's fault, it's just life as it is today, and that can, that that doesn't help, because when you really delve in deep, and again, you said something really interesting here about mental health and emotional balance, that sometimes you don't. You're correct. The patient does not express themselves, and it's a building up of trust, isn't it? And then maybe on the second or third one, they do actually open up, and hey, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way it goes, you know. So
Yeah.
you know, prescribe or treat the patient for the presenting complaint, and then slowly and surely you can work to the cure.
Yes. Yeah. But one thing I do find is that people, they don't readily come back, you know,
Right.
and I always, but for instance, I think we're having a delay in the, no, are we okay now? Because you froze for just a
You're
second.
absolutely fine. You're coming
Okay.
through loud and clear. Yes.
Okay. So the other day, I had seen someone about a month ago or so. And so I just followed up with her and I said, "Oh, how are you doing? You know, shall we have a follow up?" And she said, "Well, actually, I haven't been feeling well. So I'm just going to hold off on the treatment."
Okay.
And you know, that's fine. But we talked at length in the first consultation about the way homeopathy works and what to expect. And it wasn't completely new to her. She sort of understood. So I was in a kind of in two minds about what to say. And I thought, well, I don't want to push it. I don't want to convince her. So I said, well, that's, you know, as you wish. It's kind of like a bittersweet. To help her through whatever she was going through.
Yeah.
You know, perhaps it was another layer that was being revealed that, you know, she needed help with, but it's hard to know. It's hard to know exactly what's going on if
It's
you're not able to have that consultation.
it is difficult, and I think every homeopath, irrespective of where they are, we all face that. You know,
Yeah.
that happens, and I just would say it's just part of the process. It's part of life. You know, sometimes patients do stay, and you see the cure. Sometimes patients, or should I say, you see the results. You know, and they're so much better, and you know they're able to get on with their life as if nothing happened as such.
Yeah.
And then sometimes patients do come and they go away, but they do end up coming after a few years, and that's just the process, isn't it? That's just how it is, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a mixed
Yeah.
bag, right? And then I have other other clients where I treat them, the mothers, typically. I've seen the husbands, I treat the children, I treat the dog. You know, it's like everybody comes in
Brilliant.
it, you know,
I
and I've
love
seen them
that.
several times for all sorts of things, like, you know, whether they've fallen, well, so one of the things I like to do is empower people to help themselves. So with these particular families that I'm thinking of, you know, of late, what they do, they call me instead of calling to ask what should I give, they call to tell me what happened. Oh, this happened. I gave this, and this was the result. And I'm like, yay, bravo.
Brilliant. It's nice, isn't it? Though it's such a nice
Yeah,
feeling, right?
it's so fantastic. You know, and especially when we can watch the animals get better as well.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that's like,
I find myself treating more often than not horses and dogs. And the results are amazing,
yeah,
Mel. It's so quick as well, isn't it?
yeah,
With animals, they seem to respond literally. They respond within minutes, you know.
yeah.
Because I've had calls and they said we just gave a dose, and all of a sudden, you know, and you think, wow, it's just brilliant, isn't it?
Absolutely. So I'll just tell you a quick story. There was this dog who, I don't know, he got an infection. We weren't sure how. The vet wasn't sure how. Anyway, the mom of the dog got a call. Come, the dog was at the vet's. Come, you have to come and say goodbye to him. And she went and she took carbo veg and a few other remedies. She gave him carbo veg, and within minutes, he had turned around, got him home. He was on a drip, so that rehydrated him. The infection started to go away, and we were like, what happened? The vet had you on your deathbed.
Brilliant. It's so good, isn't it? You know, your laugh is very infectious, I must say. Yeah.
I love to
I,
laugh.
I, I've got, yeah. I'm just trying to maintain my composure because if I start laughing, I'm not going to be able to stop. Okay.
Laughter therapy.
It is. Absolutely, it is. 100%. Good times. Good times are always remembered when there's laughter, isn't it? You always
Exactly.
remember those good times, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So tell me about this. I shared a reel. You very kindly sent me a video of you had a homeopathic stall
Yeah.
or a mini clinic, let's call it.
Yeah.
So how did that go? Did you get any? How did it go?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, it was great. So someone really wanted me to be there. It was a sort of craft fair for Christmas. And I thought, a bit unusual, but I'll go along, and just be open-minded. It was a Saturday afternoon. And eventually people started to come and they started to share what was going on with them. And I was like, okay. And in some cases, I was like, well, try this remedy and I'll take your number and follow up. And funnily enough, just yesterday, I got a chance to follow up with the people. And a couple of them have made appointments. So,
Oh, that's
yeah.
so nice, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's so nice.
there was one great story, actually, a young woman who had just lost her sister. And so I gave her some Ignatia 30. So when I spoke with her yesterday, she said, you know what? I think it really helped. And I said, oh, well, that's great. I said, feel free to just take it whenever you feel like you need it. You understand what it does now. And she said, where can I get some more? And I said, okay, well, you can get some more from me. And then maybe we can give you a higher potency because it was only a 30. So maybe we could give you a higher potency. She said, okay, thank you. I'll be in touch. And I thought, that's wonderful.
You should start holding workshops, unless you're doing them already.
I have done them. And actually, Atik, I am planning to do more of the education side come next
Good.
year, next calendar year.
Do a
Yeah.
workshop and do a 1 hour segment where I'll join on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'd love to welcome them to some other things as well. I think it'd just be a nice opportunity as well, and it's something different for them as well. I do get asked to do that, so it just popped in my head, even though this is happening live. I forgot we were live for a moment, but hey, there you go, eh?
Yeah, no, that's
It'll be
awesome.
something
I'm writing it
different,
down.
and you can sort of cover so many things as you do anyway. But it'd be so nice as well just to join in via Zoom and just talk about maybe a certain specific area, which
Okay.
you think would
Yeah.
perhaps applicable, maybe.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. Collaboration is always good.
I love collaboration. I promote everybody and everything, as you know, on my Insta with homeopathy. Anybody who comes up and says, "Oh, look, we're doing this. Can you create a reel?" I say, "Yeah, of course. Send me the info." I love it because we have to promote. The thing is, it's such a beautiful community of homeopaths, and everybody is so blessed with their own way of working, and it's an art, okay, and it's that passion and it's that buzz, and hey, collaboration is the best, isn't it? Because together we're so much stronger and we can achieve so much more, and everyone's focus is the same: to help anybody who is suffering from any ailment or disease or whatever you may call it, and to help to relieve that, and to listen to them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit controversial, if I may.
This is Insta Live.
Okay. It's not too controversial. It was just a thought that popped into my head as you were talking about all the greats,
Yeah.
Ian Watson and Sankaran, and even Martin Miles came to my mind, and all of those really strong, prominent figures in our community. And what I thought was, gosh, it's almost like homeopathy's a religion with the different segments of, the different types or branches of religion, but with one common goal, right? And it just in the same way that what runs through, I feel, all religion is love, right? But it's branched off and it has different books that it follows and different ideas. But at the end of the day, there's one common goal. And you've just said it. We all have that intention.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Absolutely. We and that is the intention, and all these great homeopaths, I genuinely am thinking nowadays more than ever that, and this is one of the reasons that, of course, I started the podcast, for those who aren't aware, is to get homeopathy out to the next generation, you know, to let them know what it is, you know, and make it tangible. So what that means is you can talk to somebody and you can say, oh, I have a good friend called Mel, who's a homeopath in Bermuda. Fine. But when they actually hear Mel and they hear her experiences, it totally changes. It makes it tangible because they've heard you, they've watched you, and that brings homeopathy alive, you know? And that's the reason for the podcast, and also for this. That's the objective, to get the next generation interested in homeopathy, because, hey, we need future homeopaths who can, perhaps there's something else, there's always something, isn't it? A new system, a new technique, or something that hasn't been done before, just to add to the incredible quality of the work, which is groundbreaking anyway, right? But that work that's already there, that's progress. And homeopathy is a progressive art.
That's it.
You know?
That's it. And, you know, it's gone through many phases, right? Where it was really popular and people were really embraced it. And then it was shut down and people sort of used it undercover. And I've heard over the years, many people say, oh, yeah, my mom used to kind of use homeopathy with me. But then, you know, they ended up doing the conventional stuff and they've gone away from it. But I think now is really a time where homeopathy is really taking hold. And, you know, I think the young children that I see and the mums tell me, oh, well, they're always asking, what may I have those pellets? Like they intuitively know, you know that
so
homeopathy
good,
is good for them.
It's so good. Even at home, sometimes when someone is sick, it's like, you know, the remedies to give, and you give the remedies and they're fine. And I've said this so many times in the podcast as well with several guests, that it removes that fear for certainly for acute, we're talking, you know, the common flu, cold, sore throat, God forbid, a bout of food poisoning, or just feeling down, you know. And those things can really become, for the home prescriber, certainly, you know, you can remove so much fear and anxiety just by them knowing, oh, like you've mentioned, Ignatia 30, you know, just here's a little first aid kit, and for everyday acute ailments, there you go, you know, take this, take that, do this, do that, and it's done, and you just move on. And I think that's so positive. It's so much empowerment as well, and I think it's so needed.
Absolutely. We can't outsource our life. You know, we outsource so much of our life. Let's just,
well, everything is subscription based, right? Isn't it? Everything is subscription based, you know. Everything I go for nowadays is like, this is the monthly cost, and you think, do you know what, I've actually got nothing which is mine anymore, you know. Well, I got these aren't subscription based, you know, but I will have to go for probably another test on that subscription. No, not subscription, prescription. But they rhyme, eh? Isn't it? You know, I wonder, I sometimes look around, you know, and I'm thinking, do I actually own anything? Everything is, it's a mortgage, it's the rent, it's a direct debit, it's a standing order, right? It's a small loan, whatever it is, you know. And you think, wow, I really want to buy something which is mine, no matter how small, you know. Mel, it's been an absolute pleasure, you know. It's so good, and I know that for those listening, and certainly for those who will listen back, of course, and there'll be hundreds who will do, you will be coming on the podcast. Hopefully, we'll do a recording around March, April time, I think, yes?
Okay.
Yeah, and we can have a really deep conversation, but we can always do Insta Lives in between, you know?
Okay. It's been fun.
Great.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so very much as well. And I'm so happy that we connected. I have to thank you because you're the one who actually connected with me. And it's just really, really good. And hey, now I can say I have a homeopath I know in Bermuda and a very good friend.
Awesome. That's great.
All right.
Yeah, no, I came across your Facebook page and then I came across the podcast and I was blown away. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then, of course, you promote the Instagram. So I went on Instagram, I was looking at the posts and I was like, oh, no, I need to meet this man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Hey,
You're doing some fabulous work, I think.
Brilliant. Well, have a nice evening. I know it's about 4:30. Is that right? Am I right? Whoa,
about
I'm getting
4:30.
good with these time zones, you know.
Well, you speak to people all around the world. That's a
I
lot to
know.
keep in your head.
I was up. I'm usually up until 1 a.m. nowadays because of the time zones. Literally, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. Shorter days, less sleep,
Okay.
premature
You're more
aging,
productive.
premature aging. Well, but we'll talk offline about that. Well, take care, and I will speak to you very,
Yes.
very soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes. You
God
take
bless.
care as
Thank
well.
you.